The morning sun sparkled off the glass towers of Nova Sol spaceport. He-Jin stood at his desk, looking through the large window at the ship's landing and taking off. He had worked at this spaceport for 15 years, and he was proud of his position as the head of delivery management. "Sir, the morning reports are ready," said Ji-sun, his assistant. She placed a tablet on his desk. Her hands shook slightly. She was new and still nervous around him. He-Jin picked up the tablet and smiled. All the numbers looked good. The spaceport was the busiest it had ever been since Earth joined the Galactic Commerce Alliance 5 years ago. Ships from 100 different worlds came here to trade their goods. "Any special deliveries today?" he asked. Ji-sun nodded. "Yes, sir. A new Earth company called Stellar Express has registered to make deliveries here. Their representative should arrive in about an hour." He-Jin frowned. Another Earth company. Most of them failed within months. The aliens didn't trust Earth businesses yet. "Fine. Put them in the small receiving area. No need to waste the main dock on a new company." An hour later, He-Jin was talking with Du-Young, their most important client. Du-Young wasn't human. He was from a race called the Faladars. He looked almost human, except for his silver skin and completely white eyes. He owned thousands of ships and was one of the richest merchants in this part of the galaxy. "He-Jin, my friend," Du-Young said, his voice smooth like silk. "I hope you have good news about my shipment of crystal computers." "Of course, sir. They arrived safely this morning. Our best teams are handling them right now." The door opened, and Ji-sun hurried in. "Sir, the Stellar Express representative is here." He-Jin sighed. "Not now, Ji-sun. I'm with an important client." "But sir, she insists on delivering her company's registration papers personally." Do-Young raised an eyebrow. "Personally? How? Primitive." The door opened again, and a woman walked in. He-Jin stared in surprise. She was human, with dark skin and curly black hair tied back neatly. She wore simple blue coveralls with a small logo that said Stellar Express. She carried an old-fashioned shoulder bag. "Good morning," she said with a warm smile. "I'm Maya Williams from Stellar Express. I have our registration papers and licenses." She reached into her bag. Do-Young laughed. It wasn't a kind laugh. "Is this some kind of joke? Where are your hover docs? Your digital credentials?" Maya kept smiling and pulled out a folder. "I prefer paper for important documents. Less chance of data corruption." He-Jin felt embarrassed. Here he was with one of their most important clients, and this woman shows up looking like a delivery person from the past century. "Ms. Williams, we are very busy. Leave your papers with my assistant." "I understand you're busy," Maya said, "but I need to explain our special handling procedures. We use new technology that requires personal attention." Do-Young turned to He-Jin. "Is this how Earth companies still work? No wonder they can't compete in the galaxy." He spoke as if Maya wasn't even there. He-Jin wanted Do-Young to keep liking him. So he laughed at the joke, even though it felt wrong. "My apologies, sir. Ji-sun, please show Ms. Williams out. Put her papers in the general processing pile." Maya didn't seem upset. She just nodded and said, "I'll leave these with you. But I should mention, we're the only company licensed to transport quantum unstable materials. You might want to read that part carefully." She put the folder on He-Jin's desk and walked out. Do-Young watched her leave. Quantum unstable materials. Impossible. No human company has that technology. He-Jin picked up the folder. Inside, he found licenses and certificates he had never seen before. They had stamps from the highest authorities in the Galactic Commerce Alliance. His hand started to shake a little. "Sir," Ji-sun said from the door. "That woman, she just received a call. I heard her talking about a delivery of Nexus crystals." Do-Young's white eyes went wide. Nexus crystals. But those are the most unstable quantum materials in the galaxy. One wrong move, and they explode with the force of a small sun. He-Jin felt sick. They had just treated this woman like she was nothing. But her company had licenses that even the biggest alien companies couldn't get. "Should I call her back?" Ji-sun asked. He-jin looked at the papers again. Something strange was happening here. Who was this Maya Williams, really? And what kind of company was Stellar Express? "No," he said slowly. "But watch her carefully. I want to know everything she does here." Outside the window, a small ship landed at the far dock. It had the same simple logo as Maya's coveralls, Stellar Express. He-jin watched as Maya walked toward it, her bag swinging at her side. She didn't look like someone who could transport the most dangerous materials in the galaxy. But He-jin had worked at the spaceport long enough to know one thing. In space, things were rarely what they seemed. Do-young stood up. "I need to make some calls. If this company really can transport Nexus crystals." He didn't finish his sentence, but He-jin understood. This could change everything. As the sun set over Nova Sol spaceport that evening, He-jin sat at his desk looking at Maya's papers. The more he read, the more confused he became. Stellar Express had permissions he had never seen before. They had technology that shouldn't exist, and their representative was walking around in coveralls, delivering papers by hand. "Ji-sun," he called. "Tomorrow, I want you to follow Ms. Williams. Don't let her see you. I need to know what she's really doing here." Something big was happening at his spaceport. He-jin didn't know what it was yet, but he was going to find out. He looked out at the stars appearing in the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, secrets were hiding, and they had just walked right into his spaceport wearing blue coveralls and carrying a shoulder bag. The night shift was starting. New ships were landing, their lights blinking in the darkness. He-jin watched as Maya's small ship took off, disappearing into the stars. Tomorrow would bring answers, he was sure. But something told him he might not like what he discovered. Because in his 15 years at Nova Sol spaceport, He-jin had learned another important thing. The biggest changes often came from the most unexpected places, and Maya Williams was definitely unexpected. 3 weeks had passed since Maya Williams first arrived at Nova Sol spaceport. The morning sun was barely rising when He-jin got an urgent call from Young Mei, the regional director of Nova Logistics. "We lost another client," Young Mei said, her voice sharp with anger. "The Kim Brothers Trading Company. They switched all their deliveries to Stellar Express." He-jin felt his stomach tighten. This was the 5th major client they had lost this month. "How is this happening?" he asked, walking to his office window. He could see Maya's small ship at the far dock, being loaded with cargo. "That woman must be cheating somehow," Young Mei said. "Nobody can deliver quantum unstable materials that fast. It's impossible." Down at the loading dock, Sang-hee, one of the younger cargo handlers, was helping Maya with her shipment. He-jin had noticed that Sang-hee was the only worker who treated Maya with respect. The others still laughed behind her back and made jokes about her old-fashioned ways. "Ji-sun," He-jin called to his assistant. "What did you find out about her?" Ji-sun brought up her notes on her tablet. "Sir, she arrives every morning at exactly 6:00 a.m. She checks every shipment personally. She never uses the automatic loading systems." And Ji-sun paused, looking nervous. "What is it?" "She spends a lot of time talking with Sang-hee about physics. Advanced physics. Things I don't understand." He-jin frowned. A delivery person who knew advanced physics. That didn't make sense. His office door opened, and Do-young walked in. The alien merchant looked worried. "He-jin, we need to talk about my Nexus crystal shipment." "Of course, sir. Nova Logistics has the best safety record in the sector. We can handle any." "I'm giving the contract to Stellar Express," Do-young interrupted. He-jin felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. Do-young was their biggest client. Losing him would be a disaster. "But sir, you've worked with us for years." "Yesterday, Stellar Express delivered a shipment of quantum unstable materials to Centaur Prime in 6 hours. 6 hours. The best Nova Logistics can do is 3 days. Do Young's silver skin seemed to shimmer with excitement. That woman, Maya Williams, she has technology we've never seen before. Down at the dock, Maya was showing Sang-hee something on a small device she carried. Sang-hee's eyes were wide with amazement. Young Mai burst into the office. Her face was red with anger. Hejin. The Spaceport Authority just approved Stellar Express for handling diplomatic materials. How did they get that license so fast? Do Young smiled. Because they can guarantee safe delivery. No loss, no damage, no delays. He turned to leave. I'm sorry, Hejin, but business is business. After Do Young left, Young Mai slammed her hand on Hejin's desk. We have to stop her. She's destroying our company. Maybe. Sang-hee's voice came from the door. Neither of them had noticed him come in. Maybe instead of trying to stop her, we should learn from her. Young Mai laughed harshly. Learn? From a delivery woman? Don't be ridiculous. She's not just a delivery woman, Sang-hee said quietly. Today she explained quantum stabilization theory to me. She knows things our best scientists are still trying to figure out. Hejin looked out the window again. Maya was preparing for her next delivery. Her movements were careful, precise. She checked every detail personally. Sir, Ji-sun called from her desk. The Galactic Science Council just sent out an alert. There's a diplomatic shipment coming. The most sensitive materials ever transported in this sector. Young Miss smiled. Perfect. This is our chance. We'll bid for that contract. Show everyone that Nova Logistics is still the best. But before she finished speaking, a message flashed on Hejin's screen. The contract had already been awarded to Stellar Express. Impossible, Young Mai shouted. They can't handle something that important. They're too small, too new. Sang-hee spoke up again. Maya said something interesting today. She said the biggest mistakes in shipping come from people thinking they're too important to check the small things. Hejin watched as Maya's ship prepared for takeoff. The diplomatic shipment would arrive tomorrow. Everyone said it was impossible to transport. The slightest mistake would be a disaster. That evening, after everyone else had left, Hejin stayed in his office. He pulled up every record he could find about Stellar Express and Maya Williams. The company had appeared suddenly, 6 months ago. They had licenses and permits that usually took years to get. Their technology was classified at the highest level. Nothing made sense. How could one small company, one simple woman in coveralls, be beating the biggest shipping companies in the galaxy? His computer beeped. A new message from the Spaceport Authority. All non-essential personnel must evacuate tomorrow during the diplomatic shipment transfer. Only authorized handlers allowed on site. Hejin leaned back in his chair. Tomorrow would change everything. Either Stellar Express would prove itself, or it would fail spectacularly. Either way, he had to be there to see it. As he got ready to leave, he saw Maya's ship returning from its last delivery of the day. She climbed out, still checking her cargo documents carefully. Sang-hee was waiting to help her, learning from her methods. Sir, Ji-sun's voice came from his computer. Should I prepare our bid for the Kim brothers' new shipping contract? Hejin watched Maya and Sang-hee working together in the growing darkness. No, he said finally. I think we need to wait and see what happens tomorrow. Because tomorrow, everything they thought they knew about shipping, about technology, and about Maya Williams would be tested. And Hejin had a feeling they were all about to learn some very surprising lessons. In the distance, Nova Sol's lights were coming on, making the spaceport glow like a field of stars. Somewhere out there, the most dangerous diplomatic shipment ever attempted was heading their way. And their only hope was a woman who still carried paper documents in a shoulder bag. The day of the diplomatic shipment arrived with dark clouds hanging over Nova Sol spaceport. Hejin arrived early, his stomach tight with worry. Security teams were everywhere, checking every corner of the spaceport. The shipment arrives in 1 hour, Ji-sun reported, her voice shaking slightly. It's worse than we thought, sir. They're bringing in Centaurian memory crystals. He-Jin felt his mouth go dry. Centaurian memory crystals stored the entire history and culture of the ancient Centaurian civilization. They were priceless, and they were extremely dangerous. One wrong move, one tiny change in temperature, and they would explode. Young Mai rushed into his office. Where is she? Where's that Maya Williams? At her usual dock, preparing. Sang he said from the doorway. She's been here since 5 a.m., checking everything 3 times. The spaceport's warning system suddenly came to life. Red lights flashed everywhere. A deep voice spoke. Warning. Approaching diplomatic vessel. All non-essential personnel must evacuate immediately. He-Jin watched through his window as workers hurried to the exits. In the distance, he could see a large silver ship approaching. It moved slowly, carefully, carrying its precious cargo. Sir, Ji-sun called out, Maya Williams requests permission to approach the diplomatic vessel. Before He-Jin could answer, Young-mi grabbed his computer. Denied. This is our chance. Nova Logistics will handle this shipment. Sang-hee stepped forward. But we don't have the right equipment. Our quantum stabilizers aren't strong enough. Shut up. Young-mi snapped. We've been handling dangerous cargo for 20 years. We don't need some Earthwoman to tell us what to do. The silver ship was getting closer. He-Jin could see the warning symbols all over its hull. Inside were the memory crystals, holding thousands of years of history. Suddenly, all the lights in the spaceport went out. Emergency. A voice shouted over the communication system. Main power failure. Backup systems not responding. He-Jin's heart nearly stopped. Without power, the automatic docking systems wouldn't work. The temperature controls would fail. The memory crystals would become unstable. Everyone out. Security officers were running through the building. Emergency evacuation. This is not a drill. Young-mi's face had gone white. We have to go, she whispered. But as they ran toward the exit, He-Jin saw something through the window. Maya Williams wasn't leaving. She was walking toward her ship, carrying something in her hands. Sang-hee, she called out. I need your help. Sang-hee looked at He-Jin for just a moment, then ran to join Maya. Are they crazy? Young-mi shouted. They'll die. He-Jin watched as Maya and Sang-hee quickly unloaded something from her small ship. It looked like a series of metal rings, each one glowing with a soft blue light. Portable quantum stabilizers, Ji-sun whispered. I've never seen anything like them. Maya's voice came over the emergency channel. Diplomatic vessel. This is Maya Williams of Stellar Express. Maintain your position. We're setting up an emergency containment field. The security teams had stopped evacuating people. Everyone was watching as Maya and Sang-hee worked together, placing the glowing rings in a circle around the landing area. Impossible, Young-mi said. 2 people can't create a containment field strong enough for memory crystals. But Maya wasn't listening to the doubters anymore. She pulled out a small control panel from her shoulder bag. The same old bag everyone had laughed at. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. The metal rings began to hum. Blue light stretched between them, forming a dome of energy. Inside this dome, the air itself seemed to become still, perfectly stable. Diplomatic vessel, Maya called out. You are cleared for landing. The containment field will maintain quantum stability even without main power. He-Jin held his breath as the huge silver ship slowly descended. The memory crystals inside were worth more than the entire spaceport. One mistake now would be catastrophic. The ship touched down as gently as a falling leaf. The containment field glowed brighter for a moment, adjusting to the quantum instabilities, then settled back to its steady blue light. Landing successful, Maya reported. Quantum field stable. Beginning transfer procedure. Everyone watched in amazement as Maya and Sang-hee worked together, moving the precious cargo from the diplomatic vessel to a special container in Maya's ship. They never rushed, checking everything 3 times, just as Maya always did. Young Mi stepped forward, her face red with anger and embarrassment. How dare you take control of this situation? I'm going to report this to the Spaceport Authority. But a new voice spoke from behind them. I don't think that will be necessary. They turned to see Du Young standing there. But he wasn't alone. With him were 3 members of the Galactic Commerce Alliance Council, their formal robes marking them as the highest authorities in the sector. We've seen everything, one of the council members said. This was a test. We needed to know if Earth's new quantum stabilization technology really worked. A test. He-Jin felt dizzy. You mean the power failure was planned, Du Young said. We needed to see how your companies would handle a real crisis. He looked at Young Mi. Nova Logistics failed. You ran away. Young Li opened her mouth to argue, but no words came out. Down at the landing area, Maya and Sang-Hee had finished securing the cargo. The containment field was powering down, the blue light fading away. Main power returned to the spaceport, systems coming back online one by one. I don't understand, He-Jin said. Those quantum stabilizers, that technology, how did one small company develop all this? Do Young smiled. Perhaps you should ask Ms. Williams that question. Though I suspect she might be too busy right now. She has a board meeting to attend. A board meeting? Young Mi asked. What board meeting? But Maya and Sang-Hee were already loading the memory crystals into her ship, preparing for departure. The diplomatic vessel's crew were bowing to her. Actually bowing, as she worked. He-Jin watched them, finally understanding that he had been wrong about everything. This wasn't the end of the story. This was just the beginning. And Maya Williams had more surprises in store for them all. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Commerce Alliance was called for the next morning. He-Jin had never been inside the Alliance's grand meeting hall before. The huge room had walls made of shimmering crystal, and the ceiling looked like a window into space itself. Young Mi sat next to him, nervously straightening her jacket. This is bad, she whispered. They're going to blame us for yesterday's incident. Do Young sat across from them with the 3 council members. Other important people filled the room. Ship captains, company owners, and government officials from 20 different worlds. Everyone was talking about the events at Nova Sol Spaceport. Where is Maya Williams? He-Jin asked Ji-sun. Shouldn't she be here to report on the incident? Before Ji-sun could answer, the room fell silent. The main doors opened. Sang-Hee walked in first, wearing a new uniform with the Stellar Express logo. Behind him came Maya Williams, but she wasn't wearing her blue coveralls anymore. Maya wore a perfectly tailored black suit. Her hair was styled elegantly, and she carried herself with quiet confidence. The council members stood up to greet her. Stood up for a delivery person. Thank you all for coming, Maya said, walking to the front of the room. I believe it's time we had an honest discussion about the future of galactic shipping. Young Mi jumped to her feet. What is going on? Why is she leading this meeting? One of the council members turned to her. Because, Director Young Mi, you are addressing Dr. Maya Williams, founder and CEO of Stellar Express. She also happens to be the inventor of quantum stabilization technology. He-Jin felt like the floor had disappeared beneath his feet. CEO. Inventor. Maya smiled at their shocked faces. 3 years ago, I developed a new way to stabilize quantum unstable materials. But I knew that having the technology wasn't enough. We needed to change how shipping companies treated their workers and their clients. She walked slowly around the room as she spoke, so I started Stellar Express. But instead of sitting in an office, I worked as a delivery person. I wanted to understand every part of the business. I wanted to see how other companies treated their workers and their clients. Do Young stood up. Dr. Williams approached the council 6 months ago with her technology. We agreed to help her test it, and to test the other shipping companies at the same time. Jin remembered all the times they had laughed at Maya's old-fashioned methods, all the times they had treated her like she was nobody important. She had seen it all, remembered it all. Yesterday's power failure was a test, Maya continued. But it tested more than just our technology. It tested character. It showed who would run away from a crisis and who would stay to help. She smiled at Sang-yi. It showed who could see past appearances and recognize true ability. Young Mi's face had turned pale. We didn't know. That's the point, Maya said firmly. You shouldn't need to know someone's title to treat them with respect. Every worker, from the newest cargo handler to the highest executive, deserves to be treated with dignity. The council members nodded in agreement. One of them stood up. Based on yesterday's events and Dr. Williams's full report, we have made some decisions. Jin held his breath. This was the moment that would change everything. First, the council member announced, Stellar Express will establish its main galactic hub at Nova Sol Spaceport. Their quantum stabilization technology will revolutionize shipping throughout the galaxy. Maya picked up a tablet. Second, we will be implementing new training programs for all shipping companies. Everyone, from executives to dock workers, will learn about quantum stabilization technology. She paused, looking directly at Young Mi. And everyone will undergo comprehensive training about workplace respect and professional behavior. Young Mi sank lower in her seat as Maya continued. Sang-yi will manage our new hub. He showed that he could judge people by their actions, not their appearance. That's the kind of leadership we need. Jin looked at Sang-yi, who stood tall and proud in his new uniform. The young cargo handler had seen what they had all missed. And what about Nova Logistics? Someone asked. Maya's expression softened slightly. We are offering all Nova Logistics employees the opportunity to join our training program. Those who complete it successfully can apply for positions with Stellar Express. She looked at Jin. Everyone deserves a chance to learn from their mistakes. Do Young stepped forward. Dr. Williams, I must apologize for how I treated you when you first arrived. I was wrong, and I have learned a valuable lesson. Maya nodded. Apology accepted. But you'll still need to complete the basic shipping certification program. The same one you mocked me for supposedly needing. The meeting continued, but Jin barely heard the rest. His mind was spinning with everything that had happened. The woman they had looked down on, mocked, and dismissed had turned out to be not just their superior, but a brilliant scientist who had revolutionized galactic shipping. After the meeting, as people were leaving, Jin found the courage to approach Maya. Dr. Williams, he said quietly, I'm sorry. We were wrong about you. About everything. Maya looked at him thoughtfully. The real test of character, Mr. Jin, isn't how we treat people we think are important. It's how we treat everyone else. She smiled. The training program starts next week. I hope to see you there. As Jin watched Maya leave with Sang-yi, he thought about all the changes coming to Nova Sol Spaceport. The old ways of doing things, the prejudice, the arrogance, the disrespect, were over. Outside, Maya's small ship was still parked at the far dock. But now Jin could see what he had missed before, the advanced technology hidden beneath its simple exterior, just like the brilliant CEO who had hidden beneath simple blue coveralls. The sun was setting over Nova Sol Spaceport, painting the sky in beautiful colors. Tomorrow would bring a new day, with new lessons to learn and old wrongs to right. And somewhere above them, quantum stabilizers were humming softly, changing the galaxy one delivery at a time. Because sometimes the biggest changes come from the most unexpected people. You just have to be wise enough to see past appearances and recognize true value when it walks through your door, even if it's carrying a shoulder bag and wearing coveralls.